Very good. Welcome today to today's Lunch and Learn by your host, Dan Hotka. This is my short disclaimer. And I am an Oracle ACE Director. Cool title that the Oracle people gave to me. I've chosen to do support of the Oracle technologies and sharing of my Oracle experiences via these Lunch and Learns. You can also see me at many user groups, trade shows. I do have a speaking slot at Collaborate where I will be doing a new features presentation on Oracle 12 with Release 2 updates. Lots of books, lots of blogs. Many of you do get my regular announcements. You can go to my website, which is conveniently plastered on everything. And, oops, can't hear me? I'm sorry about that. My indicator says, can anyone hear me? In the chat window, can anyone hear me? Someone indicated yes, they can hear. So, sorry. Try the phone option. Okay. Let that person know that others can hear me. Usually the WebEx or the GoToMeeting is pretty good. It's got a little sound indicator here. And generally when it is active, you can indeed hear me. I do regularly blog. I do training on a regular basis, flat fee for whole groups of people. I'll do quite a number over the web, on site. I do have a portable lab if I come on site. These are my popular courses. Today's Lunch and Learn, we're going to continue on with the scripting tips and techniques. Okay, this is scripting month. Okay, today's topic is a little bit shorter. I'm going to drive home and show you the variable processing a little bit more and how I've used it in another technique. I'll show you that one today. Next week, we're gonna handle error handling and how to pass error codes out to Unix. I've got some cool techniques on that. So next week's will be a little bit longer Lunch and Learn and some more techniques there. So let's go to the Toad World article that I submitted last week. I already have it in. You download these slides after the presentation. You'll have this link as well. But basically, I blog out here on Toad World, and you can go out and find me that way. The link is up here at the top if you want to see it. But basically, what I've talked about the last couple of weeks is I like to do this in variable and out variable, and this is how you define SQL Plus variables, okay, or these right here. I put the no print in there. They aren't going to print unless you reference them anyway, but I like to select in. You select the variables and name the column. So I'm using column aliases in this particular select where I'm looking up the database name. Okay, so that's going to go into the in DB name. There is in DB name. Notice I'm also accessing the current user logged in, and that's going to go into in user. Okay, so again, you reference the first one in a select statement, and then this becomes an ampersand variable referenced by the other one, which I call out underbar. So I got in underbar where I reference the variable, I'm putting data into the variable, and then I have out underbar where I'm going to reference that as an ampersand variable in the rest of the script. Okay, we're getting another value here out of $$ parameter, the user dump dest. I'm going to have to change this for Oracle 12, but this script works for Oracle 11 on down, and I'm going to put that in path. Okay. Now, what I'm setting up here is I'm going to run a trace. I'm going to run a SQL trace down here. That's kind of where I'm going with this script. And what I want to do is I want to change the session identifier to whatever the out user is. Okay, there's that ampersand out user because the variable exists because I selected it up here above. SQL Plus, Code, SQL Developer, any of the tools won't prompt me for this variable. Okay. Now the next one's kind of interesting. What I need is some process ID. That's all I'm after here is the process ID. Okay. And SID is in this VMstat, $MyStat, where row num equals 1. I just want to know if it's in there. I just need one row back. Okay? I could have put an in, but this works and it will stop when it gets to the first one. By the way, when you say where row num equals something, Oracle knows to go read the first block. Especially if this is a very low number, it knows to go to read the first block. So it doesn't. If VMstat happened to be rather large, it doesn't have to process the whole thing. This is really a pretty quick SQL statement now. Okay, so we're setting up these variables. I set my term out on here, and then there is. I'm going to prompt in SQL Plus. Start tracing your session, and then I'm going to give you the name of the output path. If we look down here, I do a start on this, and right there is your start tracing your session. There's that text. Let me back up here. Prompt start tracing your session, and then there's that out path. Okay? Trace file name. From Dual. Whenever I select anything from Dual, I get one result, one line. So there's that trace file path with the heading. There's that variable that we populated in path. There's ampersand out path. Now, the next line's kind of interesting. I give you the name of the trace file. And in my tuning class, I talk about this. I've probably blogged on it too. It is the database name, underbar aura underbar your process ID, and then if you have set your trace file identifier, that is in there, which we did set. If you remember right up here, I set the trace file identifier to that user parameter, so that should be in there. .trc. And when we look down here, sure enough, there's what I named the Oracle, underbar aura underbar, our process ID, our user ID .trc. And indeed, this did get created. Then I did the alter session and turned the trace on. I have another script called stop trace. You can ask me for these scripts. I don't have any problem sharing them. The blog goes into the detail that I just talked about, okay, and makes for a nice reference if you want to print this. But what I wanted to talk about today, and I'm going to back up here a little bit, is the in variables and the out variables, and this is a practical use for them. I am turning a script. I'm turning trace on. I'm telling you the location of the trace file. I'm telling you the name of the trace file, and then I turn trace on. So this is a very useful way of collecting some information from within the Oracle database and displaying it with this SQL Plus script. So next week, again, we're going to talk a little bit about flow control, error processing mostly, and some additional Oracle scripts and error handling. So I've got some cool things to show next week. Thank you for joining me for today's Lunch and Learn. This is scripting month. We're going to be doing some more scripting. Where I'm going with this is we're going to go into probably the beginning of April with this technique, and I'm going to start showing you some SQL creating SQL. SQL Plus is quite the powerful tool. Several of the tools do support SQL Plus scripts, and several of these things will work in the scripts. The slides in this presentation will be available shortly on my website. Thank you. Keep in touch. Have a great week. Remember me for your training needs.